Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 106 of the BigTime Strength Podcast. Today we have another crew chat episode. We got Coach Amanda Berg, Coach Preston Pedersen, our hosts, here to talk some cool topics, I think. So we're excited about it. It's our second crew episode. Refer back to our first one there a few weeks ago, about a month ago, if you're interested and want to know kind of how we came to this model. We kind of break it down in that episode, but in the meantime, now let's get right to our sponsors and get to talking. So TeamBuildr, leading software for high schools and colleges, are providing coaches the ability to write programs online, generate a bunch of reports, and even train athletes remotely. If you sign up with code BigTime, you'll receive a free APRE programming template, which works automatically within TeamBuildr. No more spreadsheets and workout cards to track training maxes that change day by day. Automate your programming without outsourcing your programming with TeamBuildr. Seems like they just came out with a new payment portal processing thing. That's really cool. They're coming up with new stuff, seems like every week. And so as always, we are pumped to have them as a sponsor of our show. They even got a podcast themselves now, so check that out as well. Our second sponsor is Powerlift. They're the leading manufacturer and distributor of heavy-duty strength training equipment for collegiate and high school athletic performance centers around the world. They bring over 20 years of experience to the strength conditioning world. All products are manufactured in their state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Jefferson, Iowa. They are proud to support all coaches making the big time where they're at. Mike Richardson, is our contact on this. So if you're interested in Powerlift and what they have to offer, his information will be in the show notes, as well as our TeamBuildr sponsor as well. As always, really appreciate the sponsors for allowing us to do what we're doing here and talk to some amazing coaches. So you listen to our last crew episode, we've been asking now for reviews. So if you like our show, share it with somebody, number one. The more we can spread this message of helping out coaches as much as we can. That's why we're doing this. Please share, but also if you have 5 seconds, give us a customer review. We're at 4.8 out of 5 on Apple Podcasts. I'm looking at it right now. We have a 1 1-star review and a 1 2-star review. What's up with that? I don't know whose people are, but then we have 38 5-star reviews. So if you like the show, rate it and leave a review. I'll read one right now, which is pretty cool. This is actually back in May, but little comments like this really just kind of hits home on why myself, Amanda, and Preston are doing this podcast. So the review is, as a small school strength coach, this podcast enables me to hear what others are doing from all over the country in similar situations to me. There's been some type of application to improve me, my program, or my perspective in every episode I've listened to. An absolute must listen if you're a high school or small college strength conditioning coach. That's exactly why we started. So Preston, nice job writing that review. That's good. I don't think that was one of us, but that's exactly why we're doing this. So I really appreciate whoever left that. They don't have a name on it. But if you have similar feelings, leave us a review. It helps us out, right? All right, enough from me. I want to get to Preston and Amanda here. Just let's talk a little bit about what we've been up to last month. It's been a crazy time for all strength conditioning coaches. So, Preston, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I think about this time, about every year, this has been when things ramp up, right? I also get the opportunity to coach football, and in the state of Iowa, we are playing football, and we just got done with week 4. And things have been going well. But one of the things, and my wife's, we're in this rhythm now, right? So summer, I work early in the morning to about noon, and then I'm home and I can do projects. I can do all these type of things with her, and then hang out with Jace, our little guy. And once fall rolls around, it just changes, right? School starts, our schedule for training changes, our football obviously gets rolling, so it's it feels different, it looks different, and it is different, and it's a big change for our family. So getting into things, it's now I'm prepared myself, and I kind of know what's happening and all that type of stuff. So a couple of years ago, we also thought we would have a baby on August 19th, which is funny because we start school, we start football, and then we throw a baby on top of that. That was a little rough. So we got smart this time. Now we have a baby that's due October 15th-ish, so right around there. And we're like, man, we're getting really good at this. So we are getting smarter. And man, I tell you, it's been a lot of fun this fall. I love getting back to see our student athletes. I love, a little bit of sense of normalcy. We're doing kind of a half the students are in one day, half the students are in the next day, like a hybrid type of situation. And man, it's awesome to see our kids, and our kids love to be back. So that's where I'm at right now. Family's doing well. At school, things are awesome. So, there's stipulations that we have, and we do the best with what we got where we can. So it's good.
Yeah. Amanda, what are you up to?
Yeah, so it sounds like jumping into normalcy. That's kind of nice, Preston. I mean, we know the fall is going to be our busy time, so it's nice that you're able to go back to that. On my end, I think I feel like a first-year teacher a little bit, that overwhelmed, thinking 10 minutes ahead, what's next. So we are up in Minnesota here. We're kind of doing half our sports are playing. So right now we have cross country going, girls swimming, and our cheerleaders, and that's about it. We're not playing football, we're not playing volleyball, but we're actually, there's a let's play movement, and we find out Monday if there's potential for us to play, if they are going to start a season. So we're really up in the air. I'd say a lot of anxiety on the students' end, what's going to happen, what are we training for, and then we started like a kind of a mini session with volleyball and football where they're training for two weeks here. So it's been just keeping our head above water a little bit, and our students are actually all in. Our county doesn't have a lot of cases, and we're right on the county line. So our students are all in. So it's been a lot. It's been 2 weeks of absolute change on the students' end, but we're really getting into a rhythm, I feel like now. So, and I think it's been hard on the coaches as well. Just what are we doing? What does this season look like? So feel like a new coach a little bit, in a support system for the students and the staff. So training, I'm putting it on the back burner. We're training, we're doing good, but just getting the kids in the weight room and loving it again and having fun is my goal right now.
Well, that's great, because at Jewel, and you guys, we're NCAA has got a lot of just guidelines and stuff that kind of determines what we can and can't do. So like the last month, and I told you guys before we started recording, it's been stressful. Just everything changes, seems like daily, and it affects our protocols clear down in the weight room. So, we had a schedule for a 10-person flow in the weight room, or 10 athletes at a time. Then we decided about 3 days before we're going to run that out, that we could get to 20, which is great. But just kind of threw a wrench in things, so a little bit of a scramble there at the end. But I do want to just give a shout out to my staff, Jill Brown and Devin Hance, Walter Eastwood. They've been fantastic. I mean, they've done a great job. They might want to hire an assistant here in about 6 months. Jill Brown has just been killing it for me, so just help her out there. And like you guys, it's just, I feel like training's on the back burner a little bit. The programming is just all about organizing, and with the testing and all this, there's about a million things we're trying to balance, and it's been stressful. But honestly, I think we're in a really good place right now. We're 1 week into our weight room flow, and having our weight room be a low risk environment from the NCAA standpoint has been a challenge, but it's also been like, I'm really proud of what we've done. Like it's been pretty rewarding to see kind of our plan put in place for a week now. And it's gone really well. We had to make a lot of adjustments, but my staff has been great, but it has been a crazy time. So we're going to, like everybody else here, I feel like I'm starting to get my head above water a little bit more. We start doing a little bit more stuff. But yeah, it's been 100% survival mode the last month, but really proud on where we're at right now, coming on the backside of it and pushing forward here now. So with that, as you remember from last episode, listeners, we started a Facebook page, BigTime Strength, for those who want to join. And again, all of us have been super busy, so we're going to get more active on that moving forward. So look forward to that, as well as some big time strength gear hopefully coming out within the next month or so. We're pushing forward towards that too. So if you listened to the last episode and wondering where that stuff's at, it's on the way, because we're breathing again. We're ready to roll. So all right, I want to get to some questions. We're going to talk a couple questions to kind of round table to have a nice discussion here. It's on Saturday morning, so we can get everybody back to their families quickly. So Preston, why don't you kick it off? What you got?
So the question I'm bringing to the table today, and it'll just be interesting to talk through, is how do you define your job? What does it look like for you? And maybe talk about titles just a little bit, because when you put a name to something or a label to something, you really have to define what are you actually doing, okay? So like I'm talking, are you a head strength and conditioning coach? Are you athletic performance? Are you human performance? And I think maybe the underlying question is, are you specific? Are you general? I think is possibly why people name themselves different things. Okay, so I just want to see what you guys have to say. What are your thoughts on this specific topic, and why did you choose kind of the route that you went?
I can start. So when I took over at Jewel, my department was strength conditioning, and about a year and a half in, I decided to approach our AD about changing it to athletic performance. And my thought with that is, when we did our training, our objectives out of the department, it's number one, reduce the likelihood of injury, and two, to improve athletic qualities. So my idea of my role is to make them better athletes. And at the college level, we do get more specific with that, or dialed in with it, especially as our athletes mature by their junior, senior year, as they start to develop. They're strong enough to play the sport. We'll do some more different type of training there, but it's still general in nature. It's not sport specific. So what's been really, I've had like 3 coaches tell me this in the last month. It drives me nuts still is, it's not that, if say tennis, for example, like our athletes don't need to be big and bulky. Like we still have sport coaches tell us that. And like, yeah, I know you don't need, I know your tennis players don't need to be big and bulky. That's not just the only thing we do in the weight room. So that's why I try to change it to athletic performance to help with just portray the message of our job is to make your athletes perform better, not to make them as strong as possible and condition as possible with strength conditioning. It's semantics. It's probably splitting hairs. Not that big of a deal. But I wanted to make that push just to tell our sport coaches as well, is our job is to make your team better, not turn you into a bodybuilder. So getting that message to our sport coaches was important for me. As far as training itself, I think we're very general in nature, but like I said, if you've established like you're strong enough as an athlete, as you get in, we'll start changing that to really focus on your weaknesses at that point, with our juniors, seniors, but like our freshmen, sophomores, for the most part, and across all teams, they're all doing very similar things. I mean, it's all general in nature. But that general nature should apply to the sport, if that makes sense. And for our audio, I know you're getting a little bit of feedback. I apologize for that, but that's kind of where I sit on it right now. Amanda, do you want to attack that?
Yeah, I think, my perception and maybe what others' perception of my job at the beginning, I was hired as the weight room supervisor, which I think is a job that's still out there, and how a lot of people leadership wise in a school system still view us as somebody who goes and just watches the weight room. So, I mean, it's definitely evolved over the years. My title, I guess, would be head strength and conditioning coach, is what, usually right now others refer to me as. And I think it works out good, because on my end, in a lot of high schools, we are also training students, not just athletes. So in our weight room, we have the philosophy, you belong here. Anyone and everyone can come into the weight room, whether they want to just work out and get more fit, or whether they want to fine tune to be an elite athlete. So that part's been hard. So head strength and conditioning coach would be the job title. I'd say in general, for the last 14 years, what I've been doing as a strength coach, and this would be a good advice for the college ones, I've been subtracting, and really going from when I started out, everything was very specific and very science. And it's pretty much just been taking out what works best and turning, instead of exercises now, we're definitely doing movements compared to specific exercises for different sports and activities. So I'd say I'm a generalist now. Gary Schofield kind of has the theme unified, not uniform. And that's definitely where we're at. We'll have, and TeamBuildr has been awesome with that. With TeamBuildr, you can do these tags exercises. So we'll have a group of exercises. So for instance, like an upper body press, and I can put in there upper body press, and I can have students who are ready to go incline and single arm stuff. We can put that in there, and they're a level 4. And we can go all the way down to a light dumbbell press, and they're level 1. So we can do a lot of things with that. So I'd say things have really become unified with stuff in each sport team. I'll try and kind of say, this is why I'm doing something for you. For instance, maybe where we're rotating the shoulders compared to a traditional bench press. So that part has been really nice. It's easy to do with TeamBuildr. So I love the tags. Above and beyond that, man, the strength and conditioning coach role is changing. I feel like now it's really turning into like, you're the one who sees all the athletes. So you're kind of their leadership development a lot of times, character development, teaching lessons. So over the years, that's how it's really changed. Coach support, being the biggest supporter for the coach and taking some stuff off of their plate. So I don't know. I think I need to be called like heartbeat of the school coach. So, I think so. I don't know, but yeah. So any suggestions out there of something that emulates that? That's what's going on in the high school world.
Yeah, it's interesting. I went through a sweet class. Gage took it when he was back at Northwest, and it was something that I always wanted to take, but it conflicted with our meeting time for FCA. So it was always something that I knew I wanted to do. And then so this over break, we took, actually as a whole department, every single person had the opportunity to take 3-dimensional coaching. And the whole mindset or the whole idea is there's 3 levels of coaching. It's kind of like the general athletic performance type stuff, and then it's the mindset type stuff, and then it's kind of like more of the heart level. So like, where's your identity, all that type of stuff. And to maybe I'm the one with feedback, I'm not sure, but the biggest thing that I noticed is, as a coach, we're all called to work at each one of those levels, right? So the first dimension, the second dimension, the third dimension is not just particular to one certain person, not just for strength and conditioning coaches, it's for every coach, right? And I think that heartbeat of the school coach that you're talking about, I think that's awesome, because I think that's where every coach should be at, right? They should be teaching some of this leadership development. They should be teaching some of the character type stuff. And so I like that you threw that one in there. I guess for me, as I think about defining our job, is one of the changes that we made, and this was like my very first year here, we switched it from strength and conditioning to strength and speed. And I understand that there's a conditioning component that we do, but for our kids, it was the whole mindset shift that, like, what does conditioning look like? Well, what does everybody tie conditioning to? Like, they don't think energy systems. They think, how many gassers am I going to run? Or how many hills am I going to run? Or when they hear conditioning, all they think about is throw up. And I didn't want to be, when they thought of my title and what I did, I didn't want them to think, man, this guy makes me puke or something like that. And it's not entirely an accurate picture of what I thought I was or what I did. So we switched that to strength and speed. And honestly, that's a lot of what we focus on is strength development and speed development. And then, like, I love Gage's. We have actually two streamlined things. We have like athletic movements and then movement patterns. Like athletic movements would be jumps, sprints, throws, that type of stuff. And movement patterns would be what you do in the weight room, right? Like squat, hinge, push, pull, what everybody says. Those two lanes are what we're in. And I like the idea of like athletic performance, right? We're here to improve athleticism in some way. And that's a good one too. So I highlighted that. And I think maybe that's something that I'll think about. But right now, strength and speed is the way that we go. Not that I'm completely ingrained in it, but I like the feed the cats mentality. I like, live to train another day, make sure that we understand that small doses are effective and that speed in most sports is king. So how we get there, I think there has to be a base level of strength. And I think strength will always be kind of how big your cup is dependent, really dependent on how much strength that you have. But at a certain level, then it's all about speed. And I think both of those can coincide and be trained together, right? And I guess my last thought before I move on is in the same way that we have year-round strength programs, we need to have year-round speed programs. And if you don't, I think people are missing the boat. I think, everybody thought either you're born with speed or you're not. And it can be trained. It definitely can be trained, and it needs to be trained. So that's some of my thoughts as far as what my job actually is, because when you look at it, I do a ton of nutrition, I do a ton of strength, I do a ton of speed, and I do a ton of leadership development, like those 4 things. So however you want to title that, that's where I'm at.
And I think it's great, Preston. And as you thought about that, honestly, I feel like, especially within the last month, I'm more of an administrator than an actual coach. I mean, because I'm doing plenty of coaching, obviously, but and I enjoy that part of my job, the administration side of coming up with all these COVID things and the scheduling and dealing with coaches and stuff like that. That is more, honestly, time consuming for me and I enjoy that part, than a lot of times just coaching itself. And I think the more coaches can understand that there's a lot that goes into this. And I just had a conversation with one of our coaches yesterday. And he's like, man, my staff doesn't understand why we're doing this, this, and this. So they're all speculating on why this is happening. And he's like, you know what, why don't we just go ask Gage himself and ask him why he's doing the things he's doing, which I really appreciate it. So getting coaches to understand, like, there's a lot of thought that goes into it. And there's a reason why we do everything. And it's not just writing the workout of the day on the board, which is something that I'm still frustrated that we still battle, but we do. That has been on top of my mind a lot just in this last month on all the stuff that's going on in my world. But anyway, next question. Sorry, Amanda, what do you have?
Well, I want to go back and just one more suggestion before. When we interviewed Amber Pedersen last week, her master's degree title stuck out to me. She's got organizational leadership with the emphasis on sports development. I think that kind of ties up what you're doing right now, huh, Gage?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. Into that degree.
Yep, turn it into a degree. So, all right, moving on to my question. And I think lately you've just seen so much coming up with podcasts, and we actually just did a good assignment with my students on podcasts. I think our youth are listening to podcasts too. So we have our podcast, but I want to hear what you guys are listening to and what are kind of your go-tos that you get each week that you're listening to with other podcasts. So feeding off each other.
Yeah. Let me pull up on my phone here and look at the ones I have been listening to. The Power Athlete Radio podcast, I listen to quite a bit. I really like their stuff. That is John Wellborn. He played in the NFL for years. And he used to be CrossFit football, but now he's turned his CrossFit football, broke away from CrossFit, and he's Power Athlete and has been that for the last 3 or 4 years. But they have a great podcast. They kind of got a 3-person crew, kind of like we have here, but they're all on site with each other. And there's a lot of just really good, they call it banter, back and forth. It's really easy listens. And they just have a lot of like high processing people on there, really good guests, talking a wide range of topics. It's a really easy listen. So I really like their show. Power Athlete Radio. Be Legendary podcast. I'm starting to dive into a little bit now too. That's Sore Next podcast. They got 100 episodes on it or something. It's pretty good. I like listening to Joe DeFranco every once in a while. His industrial strength show. He's kind of funny to listen to, but he's got some good, like, he's got the practical training stuff. Like, he just hammers training. That's what he does on his. So if you want to just, like, I want to know how to make them sprint faster or program or whatever, he's got a lot of good material. And it's always like just in a Q&A format. It's pretty good. Honestly, that's probably my top 3 right now. I've got some other ones I listen to, but this last month or so, I haven't been super up to date on my podcast. But Power Athlete one, our listeners haven't listened to them, go check them out because they got a lot of good stuff. That's where I'm sitting right now.
Awesome. Power Athlete. Yeah, I think they've been one that have been on my list. I haven't had a chance to listen to them enough, but I'd say my new one that I'm listening to and is 3 Cycle Strength. And there are a lot, if you haven't checked it out, Adam Reed is the host, and he must have something going on with the visual. If you watch them on YouTube, he's got his desk set up, and he's got Chris Rock sitting on his desk. I don't know, that's random, but it's so professional looking. He, goes through slides. He has pictures of the coach and what they're doing. So it's just really done professional. And so Adam Reed, you are killing it out there with, I don't know how I got them on where I'm getting a newsletter and started listening. And so great stuff. And coaches that we all know, some coaches that we've interviewed on our podcast are on there. So it's a lot like what we're doing and just great stuff. And then I'm a Brett Bartholomew fan. Nothing gets me energized like, I'd say Brett Bartholomew yelling, but Conscious Coaching is one of my favorite books and something I share with all of our other coaches. And his podcast and what he's got going on, I think is going to turn into a legacy and just really bringing in the art and the science of coaching. So Art of Coaching podcast. And then in the female world, for female coaches, I'm a Rachel Hollis fan, so I listen to the Rise podcast. And then there's someone, her name's Shanda Sumpner, and she's got a podcast called Yeah, She's Driven. So it's all about entrepreneurship. And in the strength and conditioning world, I really feel that's what we are. We're trying to sell our program. And so she's really helped. It's a business podcast, but she's really helped me in the strength and conditioning world and what we need to do in order to sell what we're doing from the female perspective. So female coaches, those are 2 that could get on your radar.
For me, I've got a few that are like specific to training and that type of stuff, and then I've got a couple that early on I started listening to, and I just keep on going back to them over and over, and I keep listening and re-listening to the episodes, and I'm just going to go through these, and it's not all of these I'm listening to right now, but I cycle through them. Okay, so the ones that are related to training, everybody knows these are some of the best ones out there. Just Fly Performance podcast is awesome, and the guests that they have on and how they're like experts in their field and just dive deep into some awesome questions. I could listen to that one all the time. I love going back and listening to the High School Strength Coach podcast. I think all the shows that they were putting on and what Coach was doing with that is awesome stuff. And I was sad to see when they stopped. He stopped putting those out, and so that's one of the things that I'll still go back to and listen to. I was talking to RJ Ryan Johnson, and I said, the first time that I ever started listening or learning about high school strength and conditioning, his podcast is one of the ones I listened to, and then I re-listened to it while I was heading up to Rosetta for the Mid-America, and I was like, man, this is good quality stuff. So those are in, like Iron Game Chalk Talk and some of the other ones that are staples in the industry. I listen to those and especially when it's a guest that I know or I've listened to before. I like getting on and listening to theirs. But the ones that stick out to me and the ones that I think are just so vital, because training is important. X's and O's of strength and conditioning are super important. But for me, I think leadership development and like culture stuff is where it's at, because it does not matter how good your X's and O's are if you cannot implement it in a good way, in a way that's going to captivate and engage and then empower. So that's what I'm looking at here, and building championship mindsets. And Gage actually told me about that one. It's Dr. Amber Selking, and she's on top of her game with stuff. I love all the different segments that she does, all the different seasons, kind of has just a different theme for different things. And some of them are quick hitters, some of them are a longer episode, but man, such good quality content that she's putting out. And I know that I think Gage used one of her seasons as his leadership development stuff with his staff. So maybe if you guys want to reach out to him about that, it's really, really good. And then Focus 3 podcast. I could listen to Tim and Brian Kite like every day of my life. Like, Tim and Brian Kite, when they break down behavior and the disciplines, the daily disciplines that it takes to be a leader, to be somebody that's making like a decision maker, that's really breaking down how to respond to their environment. I think that is huge, and they do a great job of that. If I'm just sitting down to listen to stuff, if it's not audible and listening to books, it'll be like Jocko's podcast. I could just listen to his stuff all day, or every once in a while it's like Joe Rogan. But that's kind of where I'm at with my listening. And I want to start listening to the Power Athlete, because Gage talked them up, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago now. And I've got them, I'm subscribed, but I have to start diving in.
Well, real quick on the Jocko, he started he's got like 4 podcasts now. So one of them is like a subset. It's called The Debrief. And it's on the same like feed. So if you subscribe to Jocko podcast, you'll also get The Debrief, which is just a different form of his podcast. And it's basically all leadership stuff, where his other podcasts, it's a lot of, he'll read the war stuff and take leadership out of it. But this is just like, it's a debrief from like his leadership consulting. So he talks a lot about just like, this is what we worked with this company today on, and this is what their leadership issue, and this is how we attacked it. It's really good. They're like 30 minutes long, not 4.5 like some of those other ones are. But I've been really enjoying those. They're pretty new too. There's only like 6 of them, but I'm really enjoying those so far.
Yeah, and when I did that assignment with students, and I know we have a lot of teachers having virtual learners right now, and maybe assigning them to listen to a podcast, definitely Jocko with our high school students is so popular right now. So that would be one that kids are really on. Obviously Joe Rogan, the kids have really clung to that as well. And then podcasts from Nike training. So those were the big 3 that stood out that kids really chose on their own. So what a great assignment right now in modern, getting kids to listen to podcasts.
You didn't assign them ours?
I tried to. They kind of thought it was boring.
I can see that. Guys, what else you guys got? I mean, Saturday morning. I don't want to take you away from your families too long. So you guys got anything else you guys want to cover today?
Can I just say something with coaches?
Yeah.
Just maybe a little bit, just the times that we are in, and just we're here for you. I think it would be just make sure you're reaching out to other coaches right now, because we think that we're only one in a certain situation. And when we hear maybe what other situations that coaches are in, that's just been I don't know if I would have made it through these last 2 weeks without talking with other coaches and giving them my ear. Just reach out right now, because we are in different times, and I mean, we're pivotal right now. I think we are so important to our schools right now as a strength coach. And so reach out to other strength coaches, because there's a lot of pressure on us.
Agreed. Very well said. Preston, you got anything?
I love when we lean into other people, right? Our theme this week for football, we go through kind of a culture thing each week. This week was like relationships, and that's a general topic, but it was really meant like, if you want to, like not just succeed, but like have a life that is built upon like not just yourself. Relationships are so key. So when you reach out in tough times, that's when relationships are the most important. So I love what Coach was talking about, because it's like every one of our coaches this week was just nailing on, you know what, it's awesome when things are going well, right, to have great relationships, but man, they're so important when things are going wrong. When adversity hits, friends are there, people are there to be there for you. You know, that's cool, that's special. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, well said by both of you. I think it's a great way to wrap this up. So appreciate your guys' time this morning. And listeners, again, if you like our show, please share it. I think some really good insight today for anybody who might need that advice, even just at the end there. Please share it. Please rate us. Leave us a review on iTunes, only if it's a 5-star. But with that, let's wrap this up. And next week, we'll start getting back to interviewing our awesome coaches. Thanks, guys.
Have a good week.